It's a bloody buddy.
Buddy, it's killer.
Attack of the killer tomatoes.
Maybe you need to stir things up with some life, some spice, some Clamato.
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm Brian Altano.
And I'm Max Scoville.
This is a show where we discuss something we love,
Unpack why we love it,
explain where it came from,
try to remember our first impressions of it,
share our weird stories about it.
maybe learn something new about it along the way.
But first and foremost, we're here to celebrate the fact that this thing rules.
Today's thing is Bloody Marys.
You and I have a wonderful history with Bloody Marys. Most of it's good.
Mostly. What is so first of all, what's a Bloody Mary?
It's easily one of the stupidest things you can drink in the morning to start with. Like, it is actually one of the most complicated things you can make with breakfast. But it's a cocktail, and it's a cocktail with magical restorative healing powers for hungover people. But it also combines one of your least favorite things you saw a kid at school drinking with lunch as a kid, which was tomato juice, with about 16 other ingredients and a hard alcohol, usually vodka. Actually, always vodka unless it's a Bloody Maria. We'll get into that. But all of those things combined into what is basically like a large, red, thick glass of hangover juice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one part poison, one part cure. That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, the electrolytes provided by a shitload of sodium helps you recalibrate your bio something. It's a cocktail. It's a morning cocktail.
This is not a science podcast.
No.
But yeah, it's supposedly made of a whole bunch of things that are supposed to kind of bring you back to life.
Right.
If you're hungover, or maybe even if you're not hungover, I guess just have.
If you want to just get
get some fruit and juice.
Yeah.
in your morning.
So yeah, no. Basically, it is what it's vodka, tomato juice, lemon juice, lime juice, horseradish, Worcestershire sauce. Can you say that word for me for a second?
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
It's that word. Saying it, reading it, and then spelling it is just whoever did that, whoever made up that word. I think they just immediately died, and they were just like, we got to honor him. But
no, for you, I feel like it's like lick your elbow, and you're like Worcestershire.
I hate that word.
Yeah.
I cook with it all the time, and I put it in my Bloody Marys. I'm drinking one right now, but I just don't like that word. It doesn't look like it's supposed to look. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sauce. There's also Tabasco or other hot sauce, salt, pepper, garlic powder. And then you have to have celery in it, which I think it's like probably it's probably the coolest thing that celery ever does.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes celery gets to hang out with buffalo wings, but like mostly celery is like, it's like, oh, well, I'm there when soup begins, but everyone forgets about me by the end.
Celery is there when you're a kid and like some, a substitute teacher is like, we're making bugs on a log today.
Yeah,
we're gonna put peanut butter and raisins, and then it's back when you have buffalo wings, and then it has a really good place in a Bloody Mary, because I think that's one of the only places where you can just take a large. Like, if you just put a fucking asparagus in a Bloody Mary, you would look like a psycho.
Sometimes people do that. That's
good.
like a very...
They do.
They try to foof it up. I mean, that's the thing about Bloody Marys is they are, like any good cocktail, they're very modular and they're customizable, and like you can really kind of expand. And some places, I feel like as far as drinks go, Bloody Marys are the one that people really go the most absurd with.
Yeah.
Because there's no other cocktail where people are like, I'm going to put a hamburger in it. You know, like Bloody Marys, they're like, hey, check it out. It's a Bloody Mary in a punch bowl, but it comes with like, there's a hot dog and a piece of pizza and 3 onion rings and like another smaller Bloody Mary on a stick. Like
most other alcohol scales comically by size, right? Like if you're going to do stunt stuff with a beer, you get like one of those, like, you ever sit down at a place that just has like, they give you like one of those like gigantic pitchers with the tap on it and everything like that. Like there was a bar that we used to go to in New Jersey called the Orange Lantern, that you would just get these like gigantic things of beer and everybody around the table would share them. Then you go to Vegas and you can get like cocktails in like a flute, it's like a 2-foot tall thing. But Bloody Marys, they'll give you just a regular size cup, but then they'll build an entire restaurant on top of it. And like I don't know how crazy the ones you've gotten are, but I got one in San Francisco one morning that had like 6 fried shrimp, 2 sticks of bacon, and then like 3 cheeseburger sliders, a pickle. A pickle's another like kind of like Pickles make their way into Bloody Marys a lot.
Pickle juice is a good ingredient to throw in there.
Yes. Like you can kind of get to the end of a Bloody Mary, or maybe in the middle if you want a snack, and have a little treat. You can have a pickle, you can have a weird poison celery stick.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Bloody Marys is they're reinforcing bad behavior by making it seem like, oh no, it's a healthy thing. It's got tomatoes in it. It's got a vegetable in it, but it's like it's also alcohol. It's also you're atoning for your sins the night before. And maybe, starting some new ones, but you're starting off slow. You're starting off kind of like, I'll have the gazpacho with a dash of vodka thrown in there. Like it is much more food adjacent than a lot of cocktails are. A lot of cocktails are like, it is, it's alcohol mixer, maybe a liqueur, aperitif, whatever thrown in there. Like very rarely is it like so hard. Like, you have stuff that incorporates juice, maybe something that has like a White Russian that has some milk in there. But like for the amount of food ingredients that go into a Bloody Mary, it's like, it's so almost healthy. It's so almost something. It is like, it's so close to being like a health food. But then it's just like, nah, screw it. We're partying here, buddy.
Like you and I have both done like whole 30 cleanses and stuff like that, and like detoxes, or like stuff where you only eat like healthy food for like a month or whatever. Everybody's fucked with that. Dry January. At no point for me personally in any of those have I ever been like, I'm gonna make a virgin Bloody Mary. I'm gonna put all the ingredients in, put all the work in, but then not the alcohol, because it's just like it doesn't make any sense. In the same way that like, you wouldn't get Bloody Mary toppings in a mimosa, right? Like no one's ever gotten a mimosa that has like a toothpick and a hot dog in it, right? Because that would just be, although someone should.
That sounds like something that was probably really hot in the 70s for like 20 minutes.
Or like, back when they were doing all those like Jell-O cookbooks, the 50s. Yeah.
Marshmallows frozen in carbonite or whatever. Yeah, like that, yeah.
Mimosas are sort of Bloody Mary's like weird little friend who's like, I think Bloody Marys are when you are kind of admitting that you maybe went too hard the night before.
Yeah.
And mimosas are when you're just like playful and silly and you want to have a little fun the next day or next morning.
Yeah.
Bloody Marys are also, I would say, like the end of a night of hard drinking or the beginning of a vicious cycle.
They're the post-credits scene. They're teasing the next Marvel movie. Yeah, it's a stinger. But no, like, it is funny how you've got Bloody Marys and mimosas and Bellinis, and it's like that's like a mimosa with peach puree, I think. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever had that whole idea of like, it's like alcohol, but it's like disguised as juice. It's like when, dudes like comb their hair and tuck in their shirt because they got a parole board hearing, they're like, yeah. They're like, no, sir, or ma'am, I will never do this again. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you here in the first place?
I think the advantage I would give to mimosas is that they're not as heavy, and like there is a turning point with Bloody Marys that happens after like the second one.
Yeah,
where
and it's funny.
You gotta stop.
It's funny though, because that's not because of the alcohol. It's because of the sodium. You reach a point where you just start feeling like a dying slug, and you're just like.
I was in Orange County with some friends that I've known since like first grade recently, and it was during the pandemic. We realized we hadn't seen each other in several years, and like I've lived on the West Coast for 12 years now, and almost 15 years, and I realized one of my good friends growing up had never really drank Bloody Marys. That was just not his thing. When he woke up hungover, he would like take a shot or have a beer or like whatever, right? Like just very, kind of old school ways of just mitigating that, cigarette and a shit or whatever, stuff, whatever people do. And, we were drinking the whole day before because we hadn't seen each other in forever, and it was awesome. We were just hanging out at this like Howard Johnson or whatever in Orange County. Went out to dinner. Like we didn't really want to even go anywhere. We just wanted to like sit around in a room and drink. And we stayed up late, woke up early, and I was like, everyone's sleeping in. I'm up before everybody else. There's a restaurant down the street. I'm gonna go there, camp out, get a Bloody Mary. And one by one, people started waking up and joining me. And my friend showed up, and he was like, what the fuck are you drinking? And I'm like, it's a Bloody Mary. And he's like, I don't know if I ever actually saw anybody order one of those. Like it just didn't happen in his circles. And he drank one and got it extra spicy. And he was like, holy shit, I feel amazing. And then he drank another one. And he was like, this is bringing me back to life. And then by then I switched over to vodka sodas, and he had a third one.
Oof.
And was immediately like, I have to diarrhea.
Yeah, no, that's you reach a point where it's like that.
It's just too much.
It's too much sodium. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that we're like moderation
exactly
in all things, but especially sodium. We talk about as we sodium that'll dehydrate you. Anyway, have some more vodka.
We glorified morning drinking.
Yeah, no, so I dug in a little bit into the history of the Bloody Mary. The sort of the popular background for this is that it was introduced in Harry's New York bar in Paris, which was a very popular drinking establishment in 1921 when this was introduced, because it was illegal to drink anywhere in the United States. So what people would just, I guess they would hop on their favorite ocean liner or whatever and just, zip over to Harry's New York bar. This place was frequented by people like, Humphrey Bogart and Ernest Hemingway, like just seasoned, raging alcoholics like that.
The dude who created smoking a joint too long without passing it, right?
Yeah. Humphrey, don't Bogart that joint. No, that's the guy who was the only one on the set of The African Queen who didn't get dysentery because he didn't drink any of the water at all. He only had whiskey the entire time. And then there's Hemingway, who invented Death in the Afternoon, which is... speaking of, we're like, Bellinis, mimosas. He invented Death in the Afternoon, which is champagne with absinthe in it, which is just...
That's psychotic.
It's pretty psychotic, yeah. It is a drink. Anyway, so this was introduced. The Bloody Mary was introduced by a bartender accredited to Fernand Petiot, who I think just everyone just called Pete because they probably couldn't say. I can't even say. I don't know how you say it.
Because they kept calling him a Pitiot.
Pitiot. This Pitiot invented this beverage.
What is this tomato shit, you Pitiot?
Yeah. So tomato juice and vodka was presumably a thing at that point. The big thing was tomato juice a tomato juice cocktail was at the time actually served as like an appetizer. Like it would be served before a meal. Like they'd bring you out like a little, like you ever go to a really fancy restaurant and they're like, here's a little amuse-bouche. It's like a thimble full of cucumber puree. And you're like, well, why am I here?
A spoon of shells.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a very trendy thing. It was like Melba toast. It was this sort of, bougie upscale, not too dissimilar from the kind of like, oh, it's fresh squeezed green juice or wheatgrass juice or whatever.
Right.
And to a certain extent, that's still like the people who buy tomato juice without planning to dumping poison in it. Like those are the people who probably are still gravitating towards that. Like it's fundamentally good for you. Like having a bunch of tomatoes in a blender or whatever. Like that's great.
Yeah.
And they'd started producing it, a canned version of it. And so that was out in circulation. And I imagine, I couldn't find any like hard evidence about this, but I imagine that back in the day during Prohibition, people would be like, I'll have a tomato juice cocktail. And they'd be like, oh, sir, you realize it is illegal to serve cocktails containing alcohol. Oh, no, good sir. I mean to have a tomato juice cocktail with nothing but the healthy ingredients that Mother Nature provided and is not frowned upon by the temperance movement or whatever. And then wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and slip them a $5 bill. And I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how they police that stuff. But basically,
I feel like the Prohibition era, like Boardwalk Empire cops kicking down the door and seeing a bunch of like grown ass men sucking down red canisters of thick paint would probably be like, doesn't look like booze to me. Never seen anything like it. Have a good one, folks.
Yeah. And the other thing was at the time, vodka was like a fairly unfamiliar concept because that was being kind of brought over by Russian immigrants. So that was becoming more of a common alcohol people were being exposed to. But then also like tomato juice in a can, why not? And this one dude was like, well, this tastes terrible on its own. I'm going to add a bunch of stuff. And so he did. And then we have the Bloody Mary. And where the actual name comes from is like totally all over the place. Supposedly, I found one story that there was a pub in Chicago called the Bucket of Blood. Which apparently was named I think it was named something else, but that was like the nickname given to it because there used to be like brawls there every night. And then in the morning, somebody would go like mop up all the blood and like, all the stains. And they would take their bucket full of like mop water and pour it out in the street. And it would be red at that point. And people were like, oh, that's the bucket of blood. I will go there and have a morning beverage. Like that's
holy shit.
Yeah. And supposedly somebody there was named Maria again, or Mary, but that's Mary.
That's what they should have named the Bloody Mary, actually. Bucket of blood.
Bucket of blood.
I think it works just as well.
I like that. Yeah. What are the crazy variants? Because you mentioned the Bloody Maria, which is tequila.
Yeah, the Maria is the tequila one, and that like my wife has always gravitated towards tequila over vodka. So when I make Bloody Marys in the morning, I have to, like, I always have a different colored straw for each one. And hers is the tequila one, which is the Bloody Maria, and mine is the Bloody Mary, which is the traditional one. We both really like hot sauce and spicy. We have like a big spindle thing on our counter with like 100 different hot sauces, and it's actually become a problem because every time we're always giving each other hot sauces as gifts, and every time we're out and we're at some like boutique-y place or like a restaurant that makes its own, we'll buy a bottle of it. So realistically, every one of our Bloody Marys tastes slightly different than it's not like we're like drinking them all the time, but every now and then we'll have like a particularly fun Saturday night, wake up on a Sunday morning, be like, we don't really have anywhere to go or anything to do today, so let's make Bloody Marys. And for her, I'll make a Bloody Maria. But yeah, I imagine there's a bunch of, like, is there a gin version?
Yeah, it's the red snapper. If you put a gun to my head and you were like, what's the gin Bloody Mary called? I would say Bloody Marvin. I don't know why that was the first one.
I thought they would keep going with the Bloody MAR.
No, I think,
is there a Bloody Mario?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what would that be? Limoncello or something?
Yeah.
Maybe? Just red wine? Ugh, no.
That sounds so nasty. Something that's like really spicy and really sweet.
No, there's the Bloody Derby, which is with bourbon. There is the Cubanita, which is with rum. There's the New Orleans Bloody Mary, which has crawfish bitters. What? That's a stretch.
Crawfish bitters.
Yeah. And then, then there's, of course, the Michelada, which is just with beer.
Are crawfish bitters sort of just like New Orleans fish sauce?
Probably.
Like in the way like a lot of Vietnamese food uses like a couple of drops of fish sauce. They've reduced the crawfish into
I think so. I just Googled like Bloody Mary.
I don't know why I'm asking you.
And I thought it was going to be like by spirit, but it's like basically a bunch of variations. Then it was like, here's one that's just an extremely specific locale. You can do a green Bloody Mary with tomatillos instead of tomatoes.
Okay, you know what? I would try that. They should call that the Ninja Turtle or something like that.
The Cowabunga dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Only 90s kids will order this stupid brunch cocktail.
The Bloody Leonardo.
Yeah. So speaking of bloody Italian names, there's also the Caesar, which we should talk about. Have you ever had a Caesar?
Yes. I'm not sure.
Have you ever been to Canada?
Me. Yes.
Okay, so it is the national cocktail of Canada.
Caesar.
The Caesar. I have the Bloody Caesar, the Caesar, whatever you want to call it. I have never actually specifically ordered one. I did not know of their existence until I heard of them on Letterkenny.
Okay.
Where they're like, first we do Chore and then we have Caesars or whatever. And I was like, what? What is this? And I look it up. And the sort of the specific thing of a Caesar that makes it different is that it has clamato. So clam tomato juice.
The Clamato.
Clamato? Is it?
You say Clamato, I say Clamato.
Exactly, yeah. I say tomato and people make fun of me, but my mom was like, say tomato, you'll sound more important. And like, I don't know. But I'm like, it should be, yeah, it's Clamato. You say Clamato, but it's not, but you say tomato, right?
Clamato sounds less like chlamydia. Like when you say Clamato, it sounds like you got a genital problem. Disease.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that word no matter how you mix it, really. And the very principle of it sounds terrible. Clams and tomato juice together at last.
No, that's the whole funny thing about any tomato-based cocktail, especially Bloody Marys, is it like it's that meme of that guy standing in front of the door, like he's like he's like a bouncer, and he's like letting people in. Like, this is us. We're being like, bacon, come on in. Pickles, sure, come on in. Cheeseburger sliders, tomato juice, clams.
Yeah,
you take a fucking
walk. I was initially like not okay with that, but like I'm honestly I've totally made Bloody Marys without realizing I was probably making a Caesar, where you get the clamato.
What's that weird Cowboy Bebop shit you drink with like the raw eggs?
We can come back to that. Let's talk about that.
All right.
No, so the Caesar, I think is really funny. That was invented by a bartender at the Westin somewhere or others. I closed the tab that had this info on it, but he this was in like 1969, I think, and he was tasked with making like a signature cocktail for the hotel's bar for Italian night. And he was like, I know what's Italian. Tomato sauce and Caesar. And so he invented, he sort of, retconned the Bloody Mary and made the Bloody Caesar, and it caught on big time. And it's like I think Canadian Parliament has like recognized it as like the official cocktail of Canada. What's interesting though is I think, and I can't speak to this, maybe we have Canadian listeners who will politely let us know if we're wrong or not, but like, I think you can have it any time over there, whereas over here, if you order a Bloody Mary at nighttime, people will actually think you're a vampire. They will accuse you of being a literal Dracula.
It's so weird because like I love Bloody Marys. We've spent 20 minutes now talking about how great they are and how interesting they are and how fun they are and how helpful they are. But yeah, if it's it's not even night. If I see it like probably after 3:30. And even then, at 3, if I see you drinking a Bloody Mary at 3:30, that means you just woke up an hour ago, and
because you're a vampire.
Because you're a vampire,
and you are only drinking it until you can get actual blood.
Yeah, but seeing someone drink one at night, like at a restaurant or a bar, like it's also just like a shitty thing to order at a bar. It's at night when it's busy because they're running around making cocktails. I'll be like, "Can I get a vodka soda, please?" Or "Can I get a beer? Can I get a shot?" But for somebody to be like, "Can I have a thing that has 16 ingredients in it?" Like that's a pain in the ass thing, like with me, when I make Bloody Marys on a Sunday morning, there's like, there's 10 jars on the counter, right? And there's all these little stirring things, and there's lemon squeezers and pepper grinders and all this fun stuff.
I ordered a Bloody Mary at night once without knowing this. This was when I was a much younger and more vulnerable man or whatever. I ordered this I was at an Assassin's Creed 3 press preview event in Boston. And I don't know what compelled me to do this. I think this event was being held on it was like a bar outside of like Boston Harbor near one of those like, the USS Constitution, one of these antique ships. And I don't know why, like, there's a little open bar and there's a regular ass bartender working there. It was like a, kind of cash bar setup at like an otherwise, all purpose venue, not like a dedicated bar that would have all this stuff ready to go. And I was like, I don't know why, but I was like, a Bloody Mary sounds good. I'll get one. And, my producer was with me at the time, which he just roasted me for it the rest of the night. And he was like, he was the guy who everyone was always dunking on. Like we'd give him shit for like ordering a salad weird, like we just make fun of him for being too bougie. And he did not let go of it. He just like went straight for it. He's like, Bloody Mary at night, huh? Wow, that's a thing. That's a choice. Do you think the bartender liked it when he ordered that? I was just like,
just order a shot and soup at that point.
Pretty much, yeah.
Can I get a shot and a soup?
So I learned my lesson there. Shot and a soup sounds good. I think so. There was a place in San Francisco that I used to love, specifically for one. This is a stupid reason to like a restaurant. This is a place called. Oh my god, I'm totally forgetting it. It's the Brasserie Hayes Valley. Old school French style. Absinthe. Yes. Absinthe.
Yeah.
So they used to do like a whole bunch of kind of French style pub grub. It was really fun. I feel like during COVID, they pivoted more towards like an older crowd who went back there. They didn't have any of the fun shit I liked on the menu anymore. Still a good place to eat, but also like they went harder on the fancy direction rather than the cater to dumb millennials who order Bloody Marys at night kind of crowd. They used to have a thing where you would get a shot of vodka and a shot of like house-made Bloody Mary mix and then a raw oyster. And they were like, how you choose to combine these elements is your choice. Go for it. And it was like a fun little like Resident Evil puzzle. And it was amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it was great. And it was also, the ratios were completely jacked up because I feel like normally if you have multiple Bloody Marys, you're like, oh, no, thank you. None of that. And you sound like Mr. Ed for some reason. But I think, I don't know, like this was, I would go there for like a birthday dinner or whatever and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to have multiple of these. And it was like, that's like a small enough amount of, like, it's more of like a chaser.
Then you could actually drink that much tomato juice because it's at such a small ratio compared to the shots. Absinthe, the bar in Hayes Valley, I believe it's still there actually, is the place I've ever seen. It's like, I'll put it this way. It's the coolest way I've ever seen a waitress kill a cockroach.
That's an odd recommendation. Go on.
I know. So yeah, if they have, it's a restaurant. So, and it's in a major city. So occasionally, a roach will run by. When I lived in New York, I remember like a rat would run through a restaurant every now and then. And I'd just point to the owner and be like, this dinner's going to be free, right? And they were like, yep, take it, go. And I'm like, and the beer's in the fridge? Yep, get the fuck out of my restaurant. Don't say a word. And this was pre-Yelp. But I was in Hayes Valley for Easter brunch or whatever with a bunch of family members who all flew in. And a cockroach went like sort of skidding across the floor. And this woman in the middle of taking an order did like a backward spin pirouette. And then with her back left heel, crushed it and just kind of like went, and just did a quick like brush off her shoulder and spun back around and was just like, and what can I get you? Would you like a cocktail with that? It's on the house. And we're like, we should leave because it's gross, but that was so cool and amazing that, you know.
Yeah, you want to hang around and see what else they fight.
hang around,
what
yeah.
other animals they kill in fun ways.
I was thinking about this, and it's interesting that they made an Italian night to sort of help create a Bloody Mary adjacent drink, because I think one of the big reasons that wasn't really a big thing in my family growing up, or in, you know, my Italian people's culture, was that we got enough tomatoes the rest of the day. Like, those things tomatoes made their way into everything else we did. It was in our pizza, our pasta, our sauces, everything, constantly. You know, our caprese salads, everything we ate. And so, like, the idea of waking up and drinking a whole thing of tomato juice and then going on and having like a Sunday sauce or whatever that had 600 pounds or cans of tomatoes,
having like actual vodka sauce with tomatoes.
Yes, actual vodka sauce. It was bizarre to us. So I think that's why a lot of my culture growing up and my family around me, like, we were kind of shielded from it. And then I think it was like not until I got older and moved to New York City and then moved to California, started hanging out with people and drinking and waking up and being like, oh, I don't feel so good, where people were like, I know just the thing.
So yeah, growing up, like, my mom didn't drink. I wasn't really around, you know, people drinking much, but I remember
my parents didn't drink either.
I remember hearing what was it, like, there's like the Bloody Mary, like, ghost story. You know, like, if you go in the bathroom and look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times, like, a ghost shows up.
Yeah, it was like a Candyman remix.
It's like, yeah, Candyman. I think Candyman was like, maybe they didn't want to call a movie Bloody Mary and confuse people or something. I don't know. I heard Bloody Mary and I was like, that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. And I went in to the bathroom and tried it, or like, I told my mom about it or something, and she's like, that's a drink. What are you doing? You ordering Bloody Marys in the bathroom at night? You sick kid. You wasted the bartender's, you know, like, but
arguably the worst drink to sneak into a bathroom and chug.
It's a very it's a weird name for a drink, and it's a weird drink at the same time, but, like, I don't know, they're a good time. They're a fun treat.
I mean, we're legally required to talk about our Bloody Mary story.
I was gonna say, you know, normally, like, on this is a show about celebrating things we love and things that are great, and so talking about why they're wonderful. Occasionally, you know, poking fun at them along the way, but we should talk about the worst Bloody Mary. This is a thing I want to do on whatever we're talking about for the show, because it's like, if, you know, everything that's great has the worst version of itself. Of course, we're all our own worst enemies or whatever.
You would think the worst Bloody Mary you could get is on an airplane, right?
Yeah. No. I started writing this in my notes. I started like, what was the worst Bloody Mary you ever had? And then I erased that and wrote, what was the worst Bloody Mary you ever made yourself and your friend Max? Do tell, Brian.
Well, before that, I would say the worst Bloody Mary I ever had was on an airplane, where it's missing all the bells and whistles, right? Like, the Bloody Mary is an extremely lame drink if you just strip it down for parts and you remove a lot of the great, fun, pizzazzy elements of it, right? Like, if you're not sitting there with a little bit of salt and like the pepper grinder and lemon and lime and stuff like that. Airplanes over the last few years specifically have even moved away from actual, like, citrus. They give you these, like, little packets now. It's like a you know, decompressed or, like, broken
dehydrated
down
lime, yeah,
desynthesized lime powder or whatever.
It's one of those, like, do not eat packets they keep in your sneakers, and you just put that in your drink. You don't eat it, you drink it now. It's
like lemon lime silica gel, basically. Yeah. So if you order a vodka soda on a plane now, they give you, like, a little packet, you stir it in, and you don't, you know, you're handcuffed to a seat in the sky, so you're like, I don't really have a choice to complain about this. But if you get a Bloody Mary on a plane, like, there's no real way for them to make it spicy. There's no real way for them to make it anything interesting. They don't really put celery in there. It's just tomato juice and vodka, and it's nasty. It's flat. It's, you know, if I get a Bloody Mary at a restaurant, I'm always like, make it extra spicy. Like, ignore how white I am, and assume that I can handle, like, habanero, ghost pepper, scorpion, Trinidad, toboggan water. Just throw it all in there. Go crazy with me, right? So that's how you make a really weak, really shitty Bloody Mary. You and I one morning made the opposite of that. So we were doing our old show, The Comedy Button, rest in peace, may you live on forever, with our good friend Scott Bromley and Ryan Scott, who's never had a drop of alcohol in his life. I believe Anthony Gallegos was there, who also has never had a drop of alcohol or doesn't really drink, right? And so they came over, and the interesting thing about that show is that you had you and me, who could pretty much historically hold our shit. You had Scott, who can definitely hold his shit, but gets pretty rowdy and red in the face in funny ways. And then you have two guys who just don't have any interest in alcohol, have either never had it or just don't want to have it in their lives. Scott Bromley has insane tolerance for spiciness.
He's like a glutton for punishment. Like I feel like the two of us, we seek out trouble. We have a good time.
Yeah.
We get good, and he's the dude who's like beating Dark Souls with a Donkey Konga controller. Like he literally when he orders a slice of pizza, he takes the red pepper thing and he unscrews it, dumps the red pepper on the pizza, and then shakes it off like he's making a glitter snowflake in kindergarten. Like that is, I'm not exaggerating. That's how he eats it, covered
head to toe.
No, he eats spicy food like a Clive Barker's Tortured Souls. Like that dude is a glutton for spicy punishment, and so his hot sauce section of his fridge is like a cabinet of curiosities.
Yes, it's dangerous. And so the thing is with hot sauces is they almost always have this little circular cap on the top with a hole in it, right? And that's to save your life. Like that's to stop you from putting too much of a hot sauce in. Sometimes the hot sauce kind of gets coagulated up on the top, or it gets hardened or whatever. You got to pop that top off, and then go kind of a little light-handed, do a light pour. I don't think I realized, or I was just like in a fun mood, or I was like, we can handle this. And I took the spiciest hot sauce he had, which I forget what it was. It was
Dave's Insanity Sauce.
Dave's Insanity Sauce,
which is like one of the more prolific stunt sauces out there. Like it is.
By stunt sauce, we mean like it doesn't have a really pronounced flavor. It's there just to kind of hurt you.
It's to scare your friends. Like it's honestly, it's good if you're making like a batch of something. Like it's cool if you put a dab in, like if you're making soup or if you're doing like a big pot of chili. Like it is industrial grade hot sauce. It is like, it's painful if you have it too much on its own on food, a thing that has substance to it.
Yes. And then if you put it in, and knowing us, I think we probably didn't, neither of us really had a big breakfast.
We didn't, we had not eaten anything.
We had not eaten anything. Okay. So I go to make these Bloody Marys. I take the vodka, big heavy pour, right? Because we're going to record a bunch of comedy episodes all day. We're going to have a fun time. It's a Saturday. We all Ubered over. We got nothing to worry about. I don't even think we had kids yet, maybe.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And so we were just like, no responsibilities today. All we have to do is show up to our wives.
Honestly, I think after that Bloody Mary, I think we'd probably put off having kids for a few years. And probably just scorch the earth down there.
And so, I take the I take the Worcestershire, I take the the tomato juice or whatever, and that's a big part of it too. Is like it's not just tomato juice; you get the right Bloody Mary mix. And there's some companies that make some really good ones, and there's very pronounced differences in flavor between them. So if you're interested in trying Bloody Marys, I suggest instead of just buying a jar of V8 or a thing of Prego or whatever, go out there and get yourself some Bloody Mary mix. There's a company that's like a San Francisco one. They have like weird baseball shit on it for some reason. You know the name of them?
It's like Doolio Houlihan's or something.
Julio Doolies or whatever. Double Hubble or whatever. Okay, so I mix everything in, and then I finish it with the hot sauce. And I think I took like a couple of drops of one of the hot sauces, mixed it up, and was like, that's not working for me. Like that's not hot enough. Max and I both like, we love our heat. We can tolerate our heat. Let's keep going. So I grabbed the other shit, the Insanity stuff, not realizing that little white cap is off the top of it. Tilt, and it just goes boom. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you dump like a ketchup packet worth of hot sauce from this stuff into, and this is this is a small bottle. This is like a little 8-ounce bottle.
I did it for yours, and I was like, I might as well do it for mine too. And I remember, I'll never forget the face that you and I made. Like we both turned like instantly pale, and then I can't describe it other than it. My whole body got cold. Like my entire stomach went, it for something spicy, it just turned to ice. It just turned to like this barren, cold, like it felt like...
Yeah, that's your body reacting to poison. Like that's what happens when you get like a fever and you need to throw up or diarrhea. Like that's food poisoning response, whatever the medical terminology for that is. That's your body going, uh-oh.
It's your body going, no, get that out right now. I don't want that at all. Get away from me right this second. Long story short, I think you hit the bathroom first, and you were in there for a long time.
I don't know what that was. Like I don't want to go into too graphic detail here. I got like immediately just really bad stomach cramps, and I think I just went in there and like farted really loud and still felt terrible and just came out and was mad at you for a while. Like it wasn't like I probably should have thrown up. You know, it's one of those situations. We've both done like hot pepper challenges where we just eat a straight habanero. Like, and you know, we've done this. We've eaten a lot of spicy stuff, and like we've had that like world's spiciest chocolate, which is just, again, it's just they just jam it full of capsaicin powder. It's not even like deliberately spicy for fun. That. Like, the thing that happens when I have something normally spicy and it's too spicy is I get, like, throat cramps and I just get the hiccups. Like, I just get, I get the hiccups. That's what happens when
I get the hiccups,
spicy.
too, yeah.
This is the only time I've gotten, like, immediate stomach cramps, like somebody punched me, and then I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then nothing happened. I don't know, we don't need to go into the fucking, you know, the bad ending or anything.
Sure.
But, like, I don't recall it being particularly bad. I think it was one of those weird, like, this was deeply uncomfortable for like probably 2 hours, and then it was just sort of not a thing.
It was really difficult to like make a show record anything that morning, because I think we were both just kind of like in pain, and I believe we ended up dumping them, and I don't even know if we even make new ones after that. I think we like just were like let's not drink.
Let's anything. Have milks.
Yeah, let's have milks.
Let's have Pepto-Bismol.
Weirdly, my when I think of Bloody Marys, like when someone says Bloody Mary to me, the first image that pops in my head, and I have this picture on my phone because it's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken of you, was you and me were in New York City for Comic-Con, doing a bunch of shoots for work, working the show floor, hosting videos, you know, scouting out and doing everything, right? Working for 3 or 4 days. And then on Saturday, my youngest brother, who lived in New York City at the time, said, "Hey, do you want to go out for drinks?" And we said, "Yeah, sure." And you'd never met my brother before, so you were just like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." And we went out for drinks. He's 8 years younger than me, so when multiple times throughout the night where I was just like, "All right, I've been like on my feet all day. I'm tired. I'm ready to tap out." He was like, "Nah, man, you're not going anywhere. We're going to keep going." And I was like, Jesus Christ.
He's the only person I've ever seen peer pressure you.
Yeah. It was
really
incredible.
Amazing, because it's your little brother too. It's
my little brother. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like we, you know, now that we're both old, we're sort of just like, when we were kids, it was like, I was like, here's how you watch Nickelodeon. He was like, goo goo gaga. And now we're like this, you know, we might as well be the same age. And so he took us to this place called Blackguards, which is immediately just like, no one goes there for a drink or a glass of wine and walks out respectfully. Like, you go to a place called Blackguards because you want to stumble out and throw up on the street, right? And so we go there. It's in it's like a dive bar. It's in Midtown, and we're some of the only people in there, and we're just like pounding shots and drinks, and we're drinking Jägermeister and vodka sodas and all this shit. And we woke up the next day like furiously hungover. And we got a text message from our producer being like, "Hey guys, I think we got everything we need for Comic-Con. So yeah, you don't have to hit the show floor today. You're good to just hang out."
Yeah, they were like, "Don't bother showing up, but in a good way. Don't worry about it."
Yes. And you and me were both like, "Oh, thank goodness." And we went stumbling down the street, and I think we found what was sort of like New York's version of like an outdoor yard sale. Like, it was like a reduced flea market in Hell's Kitchen. And there was a guy that was selling, he had like a bunch of loose toys, and you bought this dog. You bought this toy dog that had a princess. It was like a golden retriever.
I don't know why this toy exists. I think it's like a Littlest Pet Shop thing.
Yeah,
it looks like the Full House dog wearing a vacuumetalized chrome crown.
Yeah,
you bought a golden 3 inches tall,
with 3 inches tall, with a little princess crown on it. And we sat down at this restaurant. You were wearing a red members only jacket. Your face is beat red because you're just furious hungover. You have this face on that's sort of just like you're defeated, but also smirking. Like you're clearly in pain, but like wincing through it. And your hair is like greasy and slick back. And you're holding, I think you're holding a Bloody Mary, or it's in front of you on the table, and you're holding up this little princess dog, golden retriever, with the crown, and you're just like, ugh. And I have this picture of you, and when I think of Bloody Marys now, that is the first image that pops in my head, is like Max Scoville, red members only jacket, slick back hair, hungover as sin, holding up a golden retriever with a princess crown. That is like if Bloody Mary was a country, that would be the flag in my brain.
See, my go-to hangover cure is always buy a small dog figurine, and when that doesn't work, I order a Bloody Mary. So I don't know. Bloody Marys are great. I love them. They're a good time.
They really are.
Unless they're terrible, in which case it's okay to dump them out. If they give you stomach cramps and make you have to go do the loud shits, maybe you don't need to finish it. It's okay. But yeah, they're not for everybody. We like
sort
them,
of weird mix of gremlin rules. Don't drink them after midnight for sure. Do feed them, like put food in them is good. And I guess get them wet, but don't drink them on airplanes.
Don't have them dry. That's just that's I don't know what that is. Tomato powder, dry. You ever have a dry Bloody Mary?
What is tomato powder? Is that a thing?
That's when you just take vodka and stir it into ragu and then just drink it out of the jar. That's
there was that
dry
weird
Bloody Mary, extra dry.
There was that weird year where like somebody was like, this startup company was like, we're going to make alcohol that you can vaporize. And I think that like, I mean, so many things get through in America that you'd be like, well, that should be illegal. But that one specifically, I think enough people were like, no way, no dude.
That sounds like a problem.
The last thing we need is like, fizzy lifting Bloody Marys or whatever that you can vape on the way to school.
What's your go-to tip for like making a Bloody Mary better? Like what's like the one like little thing you can do that most people don't think of, or like what's the
It's like I said, it's getting the right Bloody Mary mix. That is 70% of the drink. Like you want to make sure that's like something that's a thing that you, not necessarily that you would drink on its own, but like don't cheap out and just get some shitty tomato juice.
That's one of those. Yeah, that's one of those products where like I feel like the bougie higher end ones are like typically worth your price of admission. The San Francisco baseball juice you were talking about is Lefty O'Doul's.
Lefty O'Doul's.
I like Zing Zang, which I always think is a cleaning product, but it's the opposite of that. It's going to leave stains on white fabric.
Bloody Mary mix is thicker, and tomato juice is like really thin. And so if you just made it with tomato juice or like V8 or something like that, like it's just not going to give you what you're looking for. And you can add all this stuff to try to make it better, but it's like saving store-bought sauce. Right?
If you are trying to save like the crappy mix, horseradish is the trick. Get like a lot of that in there, even if you think it's a gross, scary looking thing. It like really mix it up. It makes it thick. It makes it a real soup, a good thick soup. Other tip is liquid smoke. I think you put me on that. That's like a really good. It adds like a little, like a drop, literally a drop or two, and it gives it a smoky flavor, like it's a fresh cooked, ice cold cocktail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of like kind of pantry staples you can get for a Bloody Mary that you'll be able to use for a few other things a year, but they're all they take up small enough real estate, except for Worcestershire, which is just like big and stupid for some odd reason, and then like wrapped with like ornate wrapping paper and various. Like, well, I bought
buying your Worcestershire. What?
I got the what's the famous Worcestershire company? You know that
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's fucking called.
I don't know either. We've all bought it a bunch of times, but like I got it recently, and like it's wrapped up like Fernet or like a Christmas present. Like it's got this like brown bag on top of it with like a doily and like a little twist knot, and it's so unnecessary. It's unnecessary because you're going to put like 4 drops in it. But get one of those. Get the horseradish. Get some good hot sauce that has a flavor that you like. Doesn't even have to be too spicy. Just get something with a flavor you enjoy, right?
If you like a little spice, regular Tabasco, we're not big fans of it. The Tabasco scorpion pepper flavor is phenomenal.
It's really good.
This is a conversation for another day to discuss another thing that rules, which is hot sauce. We can go on for hours about that. We went on for pretty long about Bloody Marys. I think it's safe to assume that we think that Bloody Marys rule. Let us know what you think rules about Bloody Marys, head over to patreon.com/thisthingrules. We're going to go and, maybe not make another Bloody Mary. I don't know. Maybe have a Irish coffee or something along those lines.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
We'll do. I don't know if we'll ever do an episode on Irish coffees.
Probably not. I'm not wild about them, actually.
Me neither.
No.
No disrespect. I love how we just get to the end of this episode and we're like, hey, and fuck you, Irish coffee. just
starting some gang fights over here.
It's Italian night up in here, all right? Get out of here.
Have a nice sauce.
Well, thanks for listening, and thanks for hanging out, Max, and thanks for making Bloody Marys.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.